I actually like Maryland here tonight, catching 1.5. I think it was two earlier. I think they match up pretty well with Purdue. Now, Zach Edey's going to get his. They don't have anyone who can take him away, but no, I mean, almost every team in the country doesn't have anyone that could take Edey away. The first game, he went off against Maryland. This game was at Purdue. Purdue got out to a 16-point lead. Maryland, I think, was 3 of 20 from three in that game. And still, Purdue had to hold on to win that game by 3. Maryland can do a couple of things really well here. Their dribble penetration and their pressure, their defensive pressure against this young Purdue backcourt, I think can have a lot of success in front of what should be a raucous environment. If you go back to that first matchup, Purdue had a 25% turnover rate. And look, this Purdue team, Edey's amazing. There's no elite teams this year. They're really young in the backcourt, which means struggle on the road. They've lost their last 2 road games. You saw them lose at Northwestern. They lost to Indiana. If you go back even further than that, I mean, look, they won at Ohio State, who lost one of their most important players. Ohio State's been a train wreck in the first minute of the game. And Ohio State's still led by 4 with 20 seconds to go. Probably should have won that game. And they beat one at Nebraska because of a blown call, and they needed overtime for that. They played at Michigan. They won by 5, didn't cover, and Michigan's best player was ruled out right before the game. So they haven't had the best road track record. Maryland's been amazing at home. They haven't lost in conference. I like Maryland to get this big win tonight. It's a team that is trending up. I like what I've seen of late. Now, they're not really consistent. Haslametrics, which is an analytical site, they have a consistency metric, which is like your game-to-game consistency, and they're 363rd in the country, dead last. So you'll get some head scratches. They're very Jekyll and Hyde. But if you just look at their home performances, right, they got blown out by Michigan by about 30 at Michigan. They beat Michigan at home. These are the 2 teams that they played road home. They went to Wisconsin, lost at Wisconsin, came home, blew them out by 20. This is your 3rd opponent that you've played home and road, and they really played Purdue right down to the wire at Purdue. I think they get the win tonight.
So you have a futures play for us on this Thursday as well, and you're turning to the Big East. The Creighton Blue Jays sitting in a tie for second place, 11-4. Now, they lost to Providence the other night. They played in a real hard-fought game against UConn over the weekend. They had won 5 in a row going into the Providence game. And I know Creighton, this team caught a lot of attention, right? When last year ended, folks were into this team, their experience and what they brought back. Right now, I think I'm seeing a projected 5 seed, 4 seed, depending on where they finish in the Big East. Why do you like Creighton now?
Yeah, I think they're going to probably end up as a 3 or 4. You can find 30 to 1, so if you can have 30 to 1 or better out there, I think they're worth an investment. And look, as I mentioned before, there's no elite teams. And if you're one of the top 10 to 15 teams this year and you don't have a glaring weakness on offense or defense, you have a shot. And Creighton right now I have as the number 5 team in the country from a power ratings perspective. I had a futures piece out right now that came out yesterday, actionnetwork.com, the Action Network app, where basically there's 8 teams that fit the qualifications of all of the past national champions. And Creighton's right on the fringe. Basically, your offensive and defensive adjusted efficiencies, if they sum up to, from a ranking-wise, 50 or less, and you have a top 25 offense, then that's basically who the past 20 national champions have been, with the exception of 2014 UConn. Creighton is like number 30 offense, number 8 defense, but they played without their best player, and the best player in the Big East, Ryan Kalkbrenner, who had mono. Since he's been back, since December 22nd until now, they've basically been the number 6 team overall. I think 8 defense, 18 offense. They are right there. They fit every metric. I think they're a top 10 team easily. They're going to be right in the mix. And then when you look at this, you want to look at futures this year specifically from a timing, from a timing perspective.
Yep.
They just, they had their 8-game winning streak that ended, and they lost at Providence in a tough spot and a tough place to play. They still had a shot to win the game at the end of regulation, a shot to win the game at the end of the first overtime, and then eventually they lost in double overtime. But if you look at their schedule, the only remaining projected tournament team that they have is Marquette at home. That's it. So, they could end I don't see their odds getting any better than they are right now. And they're only going to go lower, I think. So I think that this is the time to invest, and I think they're going to end up with a higher seed. And this year, there's just not that big of a difference between like a 1 and a 3 or 4 seed. These top 10 teams are very clumped together. There's a lot of parity at the top. So yeah, I don't think there's a glaring. The only weakness that I think that they have is the depth. So which doesn't really matter in a turn. In the NCAA tournament, you play one game on Thursday, one Saturday, you get a week off. If there's an injury, but
Yeah.
I can't price that in. I think this is one of the 5 to 10 best teams in the country without a glaring weakness on either side of the ball. 30 to 1, way too high.